Dr. Jerome Corsi joins us here in studio. He received a PhD from Harvard University in political science in '72. And he's also currently a senior staff reporter for WorldNet Daily. He's had a whole bunch of #1 bestsellers like Unfit for Command and others. Again, he's had 5 #1 New York Times bestsellers, I guess. It's just amazing. And he also worked in security and other highly classified areas for the State Department and for unnamed intelligence agencies. And he joins us here to break down what's happening. Doc, before we get into Benghazi, before we get into Agenda 21, before we get into the total rush that's happening and Feinstein saying titles of nobility to government people to be exempt from gun laws even after they're out of office, and police. Before we get into all of that, what do you make of airport terror announcements now in hotels, highway checkpoints here in Austin now looking for terrorists while the borders are wide open? I mean, they are really accelerating things. What's happening? Well,
I think it's a whole clampdown, the whole decision by the government to get as much information on the populace as they can get. I mean, you got to remember, it wasn't just the Nazis confiscated guns. The Nazis were experts in censuses and getting people to tell them what they owned, where it was. When the Nazis came to take the Jews away, they could say, where is that bracelet you described in such and such a census? And you said you used to keep it in this drawer. Where is it now? I mean, it got down to that kind of specific information.
Everyone just loves submitting.
And submitting. People say, oh, well, we got to fill out all these forms. We got to do all these census reports. And by the way, Alex, I never worked as an employee of the government. I worked with these agencies.
You were a consultant.
Consultant. I just wanted to make that clear so people didn't think I was misrepresenting anything I've done. I'm always precise on that.
And you've worked in finance for some of the big outfits?
25 years in finance for banks around the world and still have all my securities and insurance licenses.
Well, we know all the real agents. We know all the real agents actually aren't in the agencies.
Well, it's better not to be in the agency. I mean, yeah. But at any rate, look, the whole purpose right now is to collect information. I mean, my corporations, we just got forms coming from, I believe, the Census Bureau or the Commerce Department. All kinds of detailed information.
My point was you worked high level in the State Department. Absolutely. In security. Tell folks, since we never brought that up, what you did do in that area.
It was a period of time I was working with some top psychiatrists here in, actually in Dallas, and we went into the State Department and trained State Department personnel on hostage survival techniques. This was right after the takeover of the embassy in Tehran. I spent almost 2 years doing high-level work on survival of terrorist incidents and developed protocol for the State Department and the State Department employees around the world. A lot of that information is being used today. I developed a computer model that predicted the outcome of terrorist events, published it in an International Journal of Conflict Resolution at Yale.
My point is you can really speak to Benghazi. That's Absolutely. Why I brought all this up. I mean, we've even got General Boykin coming out. Let's get into that now.
Well, Benghazi, I mean, first of all, the Benghazi issue is one that we have to, first of all, figure out what they were doing there. And what they were doing, as far as I can figure out, Stevens and the others, is it was another kind of fast and furious operation, bringing weapons into Libya with the ultimate intent they were going to end up with al-Qaeda. And a lot of those weapons today are ending up in Syria. The same weapons, if we could track them, I would believe the weapons that were brought in by the U.S. government through Libya.
Well, that's what the former head of Special Forces, General Boykin, saying.
And I think some of them were used by the Mali al-Qaeda terrorists in that attack. But if we could find and track those weapons, you've got...
Why would the State Department want... Because they had a huge weapons cache at that safe house. Yes. And then why would, for 8 hours, the White House be caught lying? We now know, order a stand-down. Were they trying to get rid of people after the transaction, or was it a double cross by the al-Qaeda security they hired to run Benghazi?
Well, see, first of all, I think there's so many games going on this. First of all, Stevens, you remember, came into Benghazi when Gaddafi was in power. He came in through a cargo ship or something. He kind of snuck in.
Tripoli.
Yeah, Tripoli. Came into Tripoli, ended up in Benghazi.
Yeah, the commando invasion.
And was funding and providing weapons to eliminate Gaddafi. So these people who ended up killing Stevens were actually funded and gotten weapons to them and to their allies. But then now, see, Stevens is turning on them. We realized we're missing maybe 1 million weapons. We don't know where they are. And Stevens is trying to find out where those weapons are. Al-Qaeda was taking and shipping those weapons into Syria. We're beginning to find out these weapons are...
Well, of course, the West wants that. They're running the whole attack.
And, in fact, it's the same thing as we did in Fast and Furious. We provided the weapons. The weapons ended up in the hands of the gun cartels. Look, I just did this big expose on HSBC Bank. HSBC Bank doing major money laundering for the Mexican drug cartels. They just paid something like $1 billion, dollars in fines on the information that we helped to develop. You come to the final realization, look, we are the drug cartels. You don't money launder $1 billion of money, bring it to the Tijuana branch in $100 bills and having it put into an account without the federal government knowing about it.
When I take $1,000 out of the bank, they act suspicious and ask me what I'm doing, and I get in a big argument with them. It's none of your business. I mean, they won't even let Gerald Celente get $10,000 out.
The idea that we're preventing terrorism, and we're running the terrorist operation, they get the law to know everything about your business and collect the data.
So just like Fast and Furious was to be blamed on the Second Amendment to take that away, they give al-Qaeda all these missiles, let them take out the Syrians. Then, we got to take your rights because there's 10,000 heat-seeking missiles missing.
Exactly, and we've got to make sure that, we clamp down on guns in America because look at the violent levels.
And now they're saying Homeland Security is now for guns, not for al-Qaeda. It's for the gun owners. It's for the libertarians. It's for the conservatives. It's for the returning veterans.
Well, see, we're going to be defined as anyone who doesn't go along with the agenda, anyone who objects, anyone who raises questions, immediately you're on the suspect list.
How do we respond to that? Because, again, I mean, you've been there at the highest, levels of the system in banking and in consulting and everything. You've written books that brought down, major presidential candidates. You're a big insider. You don't say that, but let's just admit you are, Dr. Corsi, Jerome Corsi. Where are we going? Because I see this as a Vichy French sympathizer takeover where the foreign banks are like the Vichy French. The generals stand down. They turn America over to it. And that's what I see. I mean, they admit it.
Well, first of all, Alex, you're doing a great job. And we... At WND, we've worked with you. We support you. We think you're doing a great job. We're on the same team. The first job is you're exposing. You're calling the agenda, and you're opening people's eyes.
So what is the agenda? I mean, do you concur with my analysis?
Absolutely. The agenda is complete domination of the American people. It's totalitarianism. This is the...
And there's no doubt now. It's 100% naked.
This is the left... Its most bald ever, running to the finish line.
I mean, yeah. I mean, every instinct I've got is get out of the country.
They're saying, next we'll take your property. I mean, the whole agenda here, collectivism. What is you don't own that. The government...
You didn't build that.
You didn't build that. We own it. We need this to redistribute it. The whole plan of getting people out of their houses.
Okay, well, I studied the 1917 takeover as you have. From everything I know, they're using that plan, and I'm not just saying that for theatrics. You've got the floor. I want you to break that down. From everything I'm seeing, they're planning to try to start a civil war and call him Lincoln.
It is always the same plan. The plan is disarm the people. The plan is call the people the terrorists. Get information on the people. And then divide, find out which is the group. Is it going to be the Jews? Who's it going to be this time that is the scapegoat group that has to be collected? It's going to be the white militia.
They're now saying that.
It's going to be anyone white who still believes in Jesus Christ and professes, religion.
Wow, they actually say that.
Sure.
That's in the manuals.
This is the plan. These are the people that are going to marginalize.
No. The peers pressure thing article actually said, let them get ready, we're coming for you, and the communist Chinese are going to help. That's Newsweek. It says Newsweek on the byline is saying they're that confident.
Well, look, the whole plan of the United States being bankrupt, I just wrote a short book on the Cloward pivot theory, that it's a plan to bankrupt the United States.
Yeah.
And with the Chinese owning as much of our debt as the Federal Reserve owns, they're 1 and 2 and competitors, China is saying already, we'll take equity instead of the debt. We'll manage your ports. We'll take land. We'll have occupation zones within the United States that we create as free trade zones. I wrote an article this week in WND where China is buying oil rights in the United States that George W. Bush prevented China from doing with the Unocal deal, saying it was a national security threat. Now, today, under Obama, China's signing left and right oil and natural gas deals when we're still dependent on foreign oil
He won't let us develop, does everything he can to block it, while giving huge swaths of the...
China.
China just bought the biggest oil fields in Texas, hundreds of thousands of different acres. I can drive 20 miles and show you Chinese-owned areas.
And China just made a big deal, bought one of the major companies in Canada, which owns rigs in the Gulf of Mexico, in U.S. territory. China is going to own and operate those rigs. China is going to be essentially producing oil out of resources while we're buying oil and natural gas, especially oil, on foreign markets. It makes no sense at all. Why are we buying foreign oil and letting the Chinese? Well, because, again, the plan... That's why they gave them the Panama Canal. That's why they give them all the industry. That's why, I mean, this is so diabolical. Take a look at this little ebook I wrote. I wrote 2 ebooks I think are very important. One is on Saul Alinsky, the evil genius behind Obama, and the second was on the Cloward Piven theory, which is the plan, Obama's plan to bankrupt the United States. That's what it's called. These 2 sociologists came up with the conclusion the only way to transform America into a socialist state was to bring it to its knees economically by overloading the welfare and the welfare state with obligations that could not be met.
That's the plan. Look at the Daily Beast article. It says we need the communist Chinese government to tell us what to do. This is globalism. We've got to get Americans ready to have our TV foreign owned, like Current TV. Somewhere Alex Jones is readying his flamethrower. Let him. And they go on to say we're going to use the minorities and have and basically racial division, and we're going to use women. They're actually admitting what Rush Limbaugh finally said yesterday. They want a race war in this country.
Race war. Look at how the campaign was run. Obama ran a race war campaign. Saul Alinsky, you know, the rich are not paying their fair share. So you flame the economic resentment, get all the minorities to feel, you know, the white majority has stolen your money. They made you work.
And have Obama raise taxes on poor people so they're hurting even worse.
Well, and again, it's part of the plan to bankrupt everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Because under the lie that he wasn't going to raise taxes, he did raise taxes.
Oh, man.
Something like 87% of the workers in the country.
Exactly. It's so diabolical. It is so diabolical.
Lying all the time.
So how do we stop them? Because, I mean, this is a real Soviet-style takeover.
Yes, in fact...
Congressman Brown just came out and said Obama only is faithful to the Soviet Constitution.
In fact, go back and ask, what has Obama done for the African Americans? Look at the unemployment rate among African Americans. What has he done?
They've been hurt the worst.
The worst. Look, what has he done for the youth who have voted for him? Highest unemployment rate. The slimmest chances of jobs of any generation that we've ever had in America. These are the Obama zombies that in college...
And he re-legalized U.S. funding for basically forced abortions in China, where they give the women money if they get aborted.
And kill the babies left and right, force women to have abortions in China. China, look, you go try to bring a Bible and profess the religion of Jesus Christ in China, you'll be in prison. China.
But I mean, Doc, even though I know all this stuff, we're going to break, I can't believe it's really happening.
The Bank of China has had meetings with the United States government. The plan is set for China to transfer its debt into equity, own parts of the United States, manage...
That's official.
It's official. The meetings have happened.
That's why they said in the People's Daily a month ago, you will take the guns.
The meetings have happened.
So they want the property. They know we're going to fight.
And China wants to disarm the United States before this plan is implemented.
We are being conquered by the globalists leveraging China.
Absolutely. China wants us to have no weapons.
I mean, this is so... And I want to talk about the military.
It's a plan. The Cloward Piven theory, Obama's plan to bankrupt America.
A Soviet globalist commie plan. ProPure is introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. This is a revolutionary system, and I am so pleased to be able to introduce it to you. This is the Pro One by ProPure. You wanted it, you got it. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. In the last 20 years, companies have developed technologies that will cut out classical fluoride, sodium fluoride with a secondary filter. because sodium fluoride and its derivatives are so incredibly tiny, some of it still gets through, so you've got to add a secondary fluoride filter onto it, which still doesn't cut out some types of fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, ProPure for 2 years has been quietly developing this with scientists and engineers. It was designed in the U.S. They only have factories that can make this in England. So it's made in England, and this is the only filter that not only cuts out the other bad contaminants and also the fluoride in one step, it cuts out the acid derivative of fluoride. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the system you need to add to all of the ProPure systems that you've gotten from InfoWarsStore.com. Folks, the reason I keep talking about since yesterday, this peers pressure article that came out January 21st, I didn't see till the 24th, is that I haven't had time to read it on air yet. And it says, yeah, we're getting rid of America, we're getting rid of sovereignty, you know, we're going under globalization, new world order, and the gun owners are going to have to turn their guns in. And, you know, the communist Chinese, thank God other governments are going to help. I mean, it's everything I saw in the Weatherman trials, going back and seeing the old footage where they plan to bring in the Chinese and all this. And it sounds crazy. Here we are 30, 40 years later, and they're really going to try it. I mean, and I believe they're going to fail, but there's going to be a civil war. Ron Paul agreed last week with us on air. Countless others, every analyst I talked to. Let me ask you that, Dr. Corsi, best-selling author here in studio with us. Hey, how are things going for them? They're teamed up with China. That much is clear. Do you think they're able to actually execute this? How do we defeat them? What is the time frame?
Well, first of all, exposing them is critical. Like what you're doing every day is critical. The time frame is now. It's immediate. The plan to bankrupt America is it's ongoing today. Cloward Piven theory is in
$22 billion to ship General Motors overseas.
Got to read the Cloward Piven theory. I wrote it out in this little ebook. And it explains you bankrupt the United States by overloading welfare with demands that welfare can never meet, including Obamacare, including, they'll take the student tuitions and forgive all those loans.
It's all designed to bankrupt.
All designed to bankrupt. China has had meetings. China wants assets. And see, the New World Order people say, well, China's the future. Why? Because China's communist, but they combine capitalism under communism in a model.
And the elites are exempt.
Then the elites are exempt. The elites get to lead a privileged life with weapons, go into any federal building. What do you find? You find armed guards. You go through metal detectors. All your property is searched. The federal government's going to be well protected, and they're going to have weapons everywhere, but they're going to take our weapons because China does not want to take over the United States with an armed citizen.
It's unbelievable. And they're planning to just have a slow-motion Red Dawn with all the info and give China tax incentives, as they've announced, in these free trade zones where no one can compete.
Look, I wrote about, you've even got Governor Perry back with Sintra, rebuilding the parts of the Trans-Texas corridor.
They have the superhighway.
Superhighways. They're coming back in with toll roads. They're under the radar. They've signed something like $20 billion.
Everything is to bankrupt. How is it going for them?
Done incrementally, so you can't see that it's happening in little pieces. It's going well. I mean, they're well. You've got Obama reelected. They've got, a socialist agenda set out. They got the Republicans on the run. What's going to stop them is the Second Amendment and the American people finally waking up and saying no. And Alex, you're playing a big role in this. Every day getting the information, we at WND, every day getting the information in front of the people, the truth. Look, I just wrote about the fact of oil. We are selling to the Chinese oil rights throughout the United States.
For nothing.
For nothing. And George W. Bush would not. Remember, Unocal was going to be taken over, I think, 2005.
And that's what government land is all about, so they can just give it away.
They can give it
I remember
away.
15 years ago reading about the UN World Heritage Sites where they admitted the buffer zones, hundreds of thousands of square miles around it, was being pledged to the national debt. And who owns the debt?
China wants to manage the ports. China wants to manage the ports. They're managing the ports right now.
No, that's the deal. We'll use your dollars for slave goods our slaves make with suicide nets around the factories, but you give us the Long Beach and the Panama Canal and the infrastructure and the oil.
Panama Canal, China is. They're managing this.
Everything.
Manzanilla. They're ready to manage Los Angeles, and they want free trade zones in the United States where communist Chinese can come in and set up business.
This is a takeover.
It's a takeover. It's a step-by-step takeover, and it's happening. And our debt is giving China the leverage they need to demand assets.
And then the globalists use our military, what's left of it, as the leverage point to keep the commie Chinese in line.
We don't have to have a military. China has one.
Is it not, my king, time to spring the trap?
No, we must desecrate the soul and the flesh of the Creator's creation. The chain of life broken forever. A monument to our beauty.
Things afoot here in Texas. You know, Dr. Corsi, I'm noticing there's like a gathering in Texas. It's also happening in other states like New Hampshire, but everybody is really moving to Texas, and the globalists see Texas as the resistance to their New World Order takeover. And I know they've got to get the guns, but I think, as the founders said, you won't need the Second Amendment until they try to take it. As Thomas Jefferson said, elaborate on what you mean by the Second Amendment is going to save us, and that you were telling me during the break, people are finally starting to get it. This has been great banter we're having.
Well, I think, first of all, the broadcast you're doing, the word at WND, getting the word out, people are understanding that, they say, it's a conspiracy theory. It's not a conspiracy. It's a conscious plan to bankrupt the United States, conscious plan to take away our freedoms. You get the Patriot Act coming in after 9/11. You get now the, terrorism is expanding, so we've got to be able to take guns away, school killings. All these fear elements end up in taking fundamental rights from the American people while we're being indebted to China. And China wants the assets. The New World Order people, communist socialists, say China's the future because China is communist, but they've figured out, the Obama people.
Well, they're really just slave masters.
Capitalism. They're slave masters.
Yeah. Communism for the slaves, palaces for the controllers.
Precisely. I mean, Obama gets, multi-million-dollar vacations.
$10 million vacations, red carpets. They're the new Hollywood.
And celebrities. And, so does Nancy Pelosi. And you go to a federal building, you're going to have to go through a metal detector. Your property is going to be looked at. You're not going to, they're all going to be protected, the federal government, by guns and weapons. And by the way, they're not part of Obamacare. Nobody in the Senate and the House is part of Obamacare. Nobody in the Senate and the House will be part of any gun restrictions. When China comes in.
Unbelievable.
China comes in.
Unbelievable.
And the Trans-Texas Corridor was the first salvo in this. And out of it, look, China is still managing the Panama Canal. They're managing these ports in Mexico like Lázaro Cárdenas and Manzanilla. China wants ports. The Bank of China has met with the federal government. They've said we want assets now for our debt. And the Cloward-Piven theory drives this, because the Cloward-Piven, two sociologists who had a plan, they bankrupt New York in the 70s with this idea, overloading welfare, so capitalism crashes. You blame capitalism, you reconstruct socialism, let the Chinese come in and show us how to do it. The Chinese understand capitalism the way it works, and we're just being prepared for it. The discussion today in the Senate about guns is to sensitize people. Remember, same-sex marriage. 20 years ago, people were offended. Now everybody's desensitized. The same with a gun takeover. You introduce the idea, you show Newton, all these school. You want to protect the schools, put armed guards in them. That's what they do in the federal buildings. It works for the federal buildings are not no gun zones. The federal troops have, federal officers in every House and Senate building.
But how do you beat it when they've got all the illegal aliens voting and everything?
What they don't have is you've got the people in the United States, those left in America who understand that the Founding Fathers created.
We have to get aggressive and realize how much trouble we're in and go after them politically, legally. People have got to make this a full-time deal.
And take it seriously.
Yeah, this isn't a joke.
It's not a joke. I mean, this is now when, pre-prepared, all these, the census data, the data about filling out all this information.
The smart meters watching everything you're doing.
They're collecting data right now to know where everything is. So when they come to get the guns, they'll say, well, give us the one you got in that closet. You registered it. We know you've got it. Hand it over. You know, this is where the information...
And they know when people fight back, then it'll be, oh, there's a new terrorist threat.
All we want to do is register the guns. What's wrong with that? Well, as soon as you've registered
then they take them.
They know where they are.
They go, but you can keep your bolt action. Now Australia is banning bolt action.
Well, and again, what's an assault rifle? Well, the assault rifle is going to be anything they decide is an assault
That's why they're now saying, oh, it's handguns too we're going to ban.
Anything you want is an assault rifle. And again, the Second Amendment was designed for this very situation.
As we saw in Katrina, and as we are watching now in New York and New Jersey, the federal government can't and won't help you in a crisis. FEMA ran out of water and MREs in days. Electricity is still off to over 1 million people. The Red Cross, who is quick to beg for money, is now slow to react. Don't put it off any longer. Get prepared today. While you're on InfoWarsShop.com, check out these other great preparedness items. The Aquapod Kit lets you store up to 65 gallons of water in your bathtub. The Pocket Socket provides you with manual electricity for small electronics like your cell phone. The Life Straw is great for your bug-out bag. And check out our complete line of Interfood products for great tasting and nutritionally dense foods that have a great shelf life. If you are looking to secure your home in a crisis, you can order Strategic Relocations, the film, a great companion to the book Strategic Relocations 3rd edition, and The Secure Home by Joel Skousen. When the time to perform arrives, the time to prepare has already passed. Get prepared now, so if a crisis strikes your home, you and your family will be secure. Go to InfoWarsShop.com.
We've got Dr. Jerome Corsi here with us for another 25 minutes or so, and then he's got to leave and get on an airplane. Again, he is a PhD from Harvard University in political science. Worked with the State Department and other agencies in highly classified areas as a consultant. And, of course, has written 5 New York Times best-selling nonfiction books, many of them #1. And he writes for WorldNet Daily, and he's got a bunch of e-books out right now. And yes, there are a lot of different sociologists, and that's how communists operate during the infiltration phase, is they want to bankrupt things, then blame free market, and they get so many dependent they can take over. Now, Doc, we've had great banner. Everybody's saying, you know, powerful radio earlier, but I want to be able to now just sit back and have you recap everything you've said, that this is the global mega banks, anti-free market with the socialists and the communists. To recap last hour, leveraging with the communist Chinese, using limited capitalism where they exempt themselves from the rules, basically modern slavery, to take over, and how we beat them and what we're facing and how they use the drugs, how the big banks are behind that. You wanted to talk about that. I'm going to just sit back now. You've got the floor.
Well, I mean, there's so many. First of all, I want to start out with the Second Amendment. I want to say this about the Second Amendment. Second Amendment was written for a time like this. It was written for a time... You know, Revolutionary War, it was when the British were taking everything over, British making a final play to dominate the colonies. And the militias then at that point, people being armed, were critical. An armed public today, Second Amendment is a powerful tool. It's why it's being attacked. It's critical to maintain. Now, the next thing I want to say is, look, and Alex, we are the drug cartels. The government of the United States, you got the NSA, which is reading everybody's emails. Now, you mean to say, and I showed and published with John Cruz, the whistleblower, the information about HSBC money laundering money coming from the drug cartels. That has to happen with the U.S. government knowing about it. You mean Treasury, Federal Reserve, NSA, CIA didn't know that Mexican drug launderers were driving into Tijuana with a truckload of $100 bills, sitting in the high net worth area, you know, drinking espresso while that's being processed into the bank and shoveled all over the world on behalf of the drug cartels. We facilitated that.
I've talked to the Air Force and Army officers who sit there with the surveillance blimps and the aircraft, and they're told, let that through, let that, stop that.
Why do we have more heroin coming out of Afghanistan today than when the Taliban ran Afghanistan? Again, we are the drug cartels. We are the gun runners of the world. Fast and Furious was just the tip of the iceberg. You mean guns are being run worldwide and the NSA and the CIA doesn't know what's happening and can't catch anybody? It's nonsense. Drug cartels penetrating into the United States. You mean we're able to sell billions of dollars? I'd say the drug business may be $1 trillion business.
It is.
To drug addicts in the streets of Colorado and every other city of America. And you know, the CIA and the FBI can't find them.
Well, I mean, Wells Fargo with Warren Buffett got caught laundering $378 billion 2 years ago with Wachovia.
The major profits, I think, today being made in the banking system worldwide come from money laundering. The money laundering laws that are out there are not to catch the drug cartel.
They're to harass us.
They basically permit the federal government to track everything you're doing in the bank, where your money is. Make sure you're not using any cash. The catch, who's being caught with the Patriot Act are legitimate citizens who just do one or two things wrong.
Those no. I know someone in Texas who has a successful business, no criminal record, and over 2 decades had saved up a couple $100,000 in cash, went to put it back in the bank.
They'll be harassed.
I was arrested.
Yeah, right, exactly. And see, but yet you come into Tijuana with a truckload of $100 bills. Hey, you're a preferred customer. And that money is going to pass right through the entire system, going to come through banks. HSBC was money laundering in Long Island. We had the data, stealing people's Social Security numbers, creating false accounts, running millions of dollars through these false accounts, closing the accounts, so there was no trace of them. We turned the information. John Cruz, the whistleblower, I wrote about it in WND. We went into the Department of Homeland Security in New York, turned over this information, turned it over to the Congress, and nobody was doing anything until we started publicizing it, writing the articles about it, exposing it. I've exposed HSBC in India. All around the world, HSBC is a criminal bank. It's engaging in these activities. And if HSBC wants to sue me, hey, I'll save them the problem.
But I mean, wait a minute. It's in the news. It's in the news that all the big Federal Reserve member banks and others have been caught
laundering money. They are laundering. It's the only way the drug business.
That's why they keep it illegal, to keep the price up.
You can't have a drug business if the governments don't cooperate.
Now, Doctor.
It's the same with the guns. The guns are the same. Guns are being, the federal government wants a monopoly on the weapons so that they can put the weapons where they want.
And selectively arrest us.
And selectively arrest us if we dare have any. But they'll be happy to get them in the hands of Al-Qaeda. Where does Al-Qaeda get
missiles?
The weapons? Let's track the weapons that were used in Mali. Let's track the weapons that are used in Syria and find out they track right back to the State Department.
Now, let me bring this up since you said that. People always in the mainstream media spin it that I'm saying, and this is a quote of Chris Matthews, that Bush was at the towers with a plunger. Bush is a teleprompter reading puppet like Obama to many levels, though Obama, more and more we're learning, is actually enjoying what's happening and in there, running some of the things. I've always said criminal globalist elements are financing and using Al-Qaeda as a pretext to menace us into slavery and as a pretext to bring in a police state. And look at the Homeland documents. It's all about returning veterans, gun owners. I mean, don't I get an apology from the national conservatives out there who spun it that I was saying the whole government was doing 9/11? I
would say forget about it. The issue is that you're right in tracking the information and getting it out. This is apologies whether you'll ever get. Sure.
I don't even want that. My point is I'm saying there's a criminal globalist element in the government using Al-Qaeda.
We have a criminal government. Our government is running drugs, permitting it to happen, and running guns.
And running Al-Qaeda.
And running Al-Qaeda. We are the drug cartels. We are Al-Qaeda. This is the fundamental realization.
100 miles into the Texas border, all over the state, anywhere I have to go, they have Border Patrol checkpoints. And when I pull up now and they go, I want to search your car, I go, the government ships the drugs. And they go, all right, you can go. I mean, they all know it.
And look, Al-Qaeda right now, we have a group of expatriates out of Libya. They've been sending us information. Al-Qaeda has taken over Libya.
They fly the flags there.
And they are, in fact, raging a tribal war where they're killing other tribes that were favorable to Gaddafi. We're not saying, oh, we've got to use this doctrine to protect people out of the UN go in. No.
Or they're ethnic cleansing the blacks.
Because as long as Al-Qaeda is killing people, our government's going to stand down. I mean, the whole Arab Spring was a takeover by the Muslim Brotherhood of all these countries, one after the other.
So where's it all going? How do we beat this?
Well, again, exposing it is fundamental. People waking up and understanding that, we've got a criminal government. It demand investigation. When you were calling for investigations, Alex, you need to have you on the investigating committee, not some Warren Commission that's got that where you get the State Department and the Justice Department saying
sure.
the first 24 hours we got to make sure Lee Harvey Oswald's found as the culprit. Paper over it. Put the critics on the investigating committees, give them the power, and let's prosecute the federal officials. How about Nancy Pelosi? How about Barack Obama? In terms of criminal activity.
Rand Paul said bare minimum, Hillary should have to step down. Obviously, the White House has been caught lying.
Quit lying. I want to know, for the 8 hours this embassy was under attack and we had drones there, do they sit and watch it in the State Department?
Of course they did.
House? Did they go to bed and let our people die in the field over there while, in fact, we had Al-Qaeda attacking and we were running drugs? We'd rather have those ambassadors die than admit they were there with guns that were run, that was a cache of guns that were illegally brought into the United States by the United States, headed to Syria. That if they didn't die, we were going to expose our own gun running. So the White House and over in Pentagon and CIA, they watched them die rather than call in military. And
ordered the CIA torture base down the road to not help.
And stand down. Some of I believe at least two of the government official, the military that were there dying in Benghazi, basically violated orders and went in.
That's right. Yeah, the Navy SEALs.
The Navy SEALs violated orders. They weren't going to stand for this. They were there begging for help. They were calling in, trajectories, giving target locations. Well, that was because the drones around there had to be armed.
For 8 hours, you had up to 500 people with anti-aircraft guns cranked down to the ground, firing into the building.
And what does Obama and Hillary come? They say, oh, it's because of a movie. Again, using the incident to try to quash free speech. Say, oh, is this? They were insulted over this movie.
Well, they recycle everything they do to attack freedom.
Attack freedom. It's all back on attack the United States citizens. Take the guns away, take the First Amendment away, and use any incident that happens. A school.
Let me ask you this. If we don't stop them studying this worldwide, reading their own white papers, their own sociologists, where does it go if we don't stop them?
If it doesn't stop them, we might as well read Nazi Germany again, because we're going to be the victims in another Nazi Germany. There's going to be no place to go.
These are authoritarians.
Yeah. And let's let Congress know that if Congress doesn't listen, everybody in Congress, we vote out. Anybody who's there, we just vote out.
But it's time to be freaking out. I mean, this is openly.
And demand hearings, demand investigations, press the information. Every day, Alex, when you're out there, showing people what's really in the news, your audience, what we're doing at WND. This is an extremely important function. Get the truth. The Trans-Texas Corridor, when people realized that they were going to take 4 football fields wide of Texas and give it to Spain to develop as highways.
That's globalism.
And finally, Texans came out of these meetings. They told Rick Perry and the Texas Department of Transportation they could shove this plan.
But 6 years later, like a roach, he creeps back.
Come back. It's constant vigilance. Jefferson was right. Constant.
And anyone who approaches the jewel is an enemy.
And they will target us as the enemy.
That's fine. Well, hey, we're committed. We're going all the way. We'll be back with a final segment to talk about the new royalty. It is just unspeakable how evil these authoritarians are. And it's not authoritarianism for domination because they have some grand plan to help people. The globalists, I've studied them, really hate humanity. They're very unhappy, nasty people. But you mentioned something earlier I wanted to flesh out here. Here's the Weekly Standard, and it is in the new bill. Feinstein gun control bill to exempt government officials. And I have the Huffington Post here with the police, one of the police patrolman associations in New York saying, well, we need guns to protect ourselves from criminals. So the police now, under this federal bill, are saying, well, we're going to take all of your guns, but we'll still be able to have guns to protect ourselves because criminals won't follow laws. This is new titles of nobility. This is what our founders fought because the police and all former feds, just like you said earlier, Congress exempts itself from Obamacare.
Exactly.
I mean, that is so discriminatory.
Obama gets to have all the vacations he wants, travel anywhere he wants to go. Look at how Nancy Pelosi flies around. This is all, they have their own health system in Congress. They have their own lifestyle, their own parking lot, their own restaurants. It's a sinecure for life, pensions forever if you're in for one term. You know, look, Alex, this entire plan, the entire attack on God, that's what my new book is on, the ACLU. It's on the plan to remove God. It's called The Bad Samaritan.
Gloria Steinem wears shirts saying, I got an abortion. It's beautiful.
Okay, we're celebrating abortions. Now, the next thing, if we're celebrating abortions, the next plan will be to celebrate the killing of the old.
You must not watch mainline new TV. No. The sexy thing is to talk about how ugly old people are and how great it is to kill them.
Right, because they're useless. They're just, you know, wasted. They're old. They can't do anything. They can't contribute. Kill them. But at the same time, all the groups that are supporting Obama, all the leftist-oriented groups, the minorities, are being used as dupes. Nothing is in return to them. Go into the
Obama won't even go talk to him. Remember what Maxine Waters said?
Go to the African-American communities. Look at the highest unemployment. Look at the biggest crime and drug use, dropouts from schools,
exploding
families. What is any federal government doing to, you know,
Chicago, where the Don runs things.
Go into Detroit. Take a look at the comparison. It's circulating on the internet between Detroit and Hiroshima at the end of World War II. Hiroshima is a thriving community. Detroit, under socialism, is devastated. That's the future of America under socialism. Detroit. Go look at it. No jobs, the jobs to China, everybody in poverty, everybody facing either go into the drug.
And when I say to socialists that are mid-level and really mean well, they go, everything's going to collapse, austerity, you want to kill old people. And meanwhile, it's the eugenicists saying they're going to kill the old people.
And my book, and this whole thing, got to look at the Cloward-Piven theory. The plan is to so bankrupt the United States with new entitlement programs, Obamacare. You've got, you know, all the food stamps you want. Well, they'll roll out entitlement after entitlement because the idea is we'll never be able to pay for them. We'll be bankrupt. And the collapse of the United States, they'll blame capitalism. Then they'll open the door for the Chinese. The Chinese will own the debt. And the socialists...
They already do.
The Chinese know how to run capitalism. We'll just use the Chinese system. Constitution is an old document. We've already had the Georgia...
They're already saying that in the Piers Pressure article. Do one on this. This article says we need to do what the communist Chinese say. Read it, and then I'll be dealt with.
And that's going to be for everybody. Right there.
Actually, did you see Piers Morgan say he wants to shoot me?
Yes, I saw that. I saw the entire...
Have you been around the so-called liberals privately where all they ever talk about is killing people?
That's, you know, look, the whole agenda is a death agenda. It's killing babies. How are we going to celebrate
killing old people?
Killing old people.
How could the free market pay for everybody and now socialism, nothing can be paid for?
In fact, look, this is not, people got to understand, this is not an economic downturn we're in. This is a created, manipulated, structural unemployment where even if the economy improved, the jobs created are in China.
They've doubled the food stamps. That's on goal.
Of course. They've had increasing dependency on the federal
government. They're saying, and they've even got Rand Paul going, we've got to adapt or die, that PSYOP, to make the Republican Party, you know, just the right wing of the left.
The Republican Party and the Democratic Party are essentially one
party. It's a PSYOP.
It's one party.
People are rejecting socialism.
And people have got to continue to reject socialism. People have got to start taking strong measures, demanding.
And it's time to start
criminal investigation.
I agree. But isn't it start to not complying as well?
Yes. Also, first of all, the Second Amendment is fundamental. People have got to retain their guns. The Second Amendment was created for times when tyranny is on the rise.
And it's here.
It's here. And it's here and it's on the move.
You know, our founders are fighting for us from the grave.
Well, and we've got to listen because the words that they gave us, the instructions and the tools are right there, First Amendment, Second Amendment, and we've got to demand the federal government as a criminal government running drug cartels.
Tell you what, come back and do 5 more minutes with us, then the big announcement. I want you to finish up plans to turn this around. We've been warning people for decades, and now that we're coming down to the wire, people are going, wait, Ron Paul, Dr. Corsi, Alex Jones, G. Edward Griffin, countless others, Bob Chapman, the list goes on and on, Lou Rockwell, they all warned us about this, and exactly what they said is now happening. They told us 10 years ago the smart meters were going to hook into all our electronics and track us and tax us and surveil us, and the government said it was a conspiracy theory, but now it's admitted. Well, wait, Alex said the NSA was spying on us 10 years ago without warrants, non-terror related. Now they admit it. Oh, Alex said that it was really for the American people, Homeland Security. Now it's admitted. Again, it's all happening. We've got a chance to beat these people if we realize they're really bad people. They're not misguided liberals, environmental wackos. I wish Rush Limbaugh would stop saying they're idiot wackos. These are, because I've been at hundreds of their events, and they always come over when the camera's off and punch you in the arm or grab your shirt and say, I'm going to get you. One day we're going to get you. I'm sure that's happened to you, Dr. Corsi. In closing, we've got some huge news coming up after you go. Kissinger predicts nuclear war with Iran, Infowars.com. Holder begins gun control push, trying to raise money for the Democratic Party on the backup at Fireside Chats. Assault weapon ban lacks Democratic votes to pass Senate. Don't think they won't have another shooting, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that is just some of the stuff we've got here. We're going to make the big announcement on the $115,000 biggest contest ever after he leaves us, Operation Paul Revere. That's going live with a red link right now at Infowars.com, and we'll post it to PrisonPlanet.com as a backup. But Doctor, we've had great banner for the last hour. Other points you want to add about solutions? I just want to first get your take on this. Look, this is real. You're more steeled than ever knowing it's real. We've talked privately. It's now all manifesting, our worst analysis being proven right. Again, people better take this serious. What can you say to police and military? I'm talking to police and military, and they're either totally waking up, and the majority of them are, or they're deciding to just sign on to evil. How will the system deal with that?
Well, the police and the military have gone to the Oath Keepers, the whole plan to reach out and say, look, because the New World Order will turn on the police as well. If they
always do.
If they don't sign on, they'll be equally victims in this. But again, Alex, it's a plan. The Obama plan to bankrupt America.
Your book.
That's what I've been pushing people to read. You understand that once we are indebted to China, we can't tell China to stay out. Once you've sold current TV to Al Jazeera owns the airwaves.
That's globalism. Have foreigners come in and buy everything.
And I wrote a book, America for Sale. I warn people you're going to be reduced down to living in the safe places where you can find to live, burying your guns, having food to live, and even that's not safe. How long are you going to last?
No, they know we've got the food.
But people can understand what you've been saying is true. Fast and Furious occurred from the top. It was a administration concocted plan by Eric Holder to take the guns away, to attack the Second Amendment, to have these guns show up at events, killings and murders, and say, look, the guns are being sold.
That came out in the memos.
It was out, and you try to get the truth. The memos won't be released. The testimony, even Hillary's testimony, lying testimony where Hillary did not say, where are the 25 people who survived Benghazi? Why can't we talk to them? What was the White House doing and the CIA for the 8 hours of this attack? Were they watching it occur and not sending in the military to save our troops? Why do the two SEALs have to essentially disobey orders to go to protect Stevens? Again, what were the guns we were running there? You do not launder billions of dollars through HSBC for the Mexican drug cartels, all admitted. Fines now out there. We've been publishing it in WND without the government knowing. The
cartel leaders said in trials, hey, we have a national security pass. We were doing this with the government.
We are the drug cartels. We are Al-Qaeda. We are arming Al-Qaeda. We're arming the drug cartels. And you've got to let's have criminal investigations of Hillary. Let's get the documents. Let's demand the documents.
Why are they so bold? How could they publicly use Al-Qaeda in Libya and Syria and then go on the news and say, you got to give your rights up? Al-Qaeda got weapons in Libya.
With a compliant press, with, Piers Morgan, with all these other people, bring the foreigners in here and have them lecture to us on gun control.
It actually says that, and they're going to get me.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole idea is avoid investigation. That's what the government wants to do. No memos. Where are the memos and the investigation on Benghazi?
Take the head of the
hearing.
Take the head of the EPA when they caught her using a dummy emails.
HSBC, let's have a hearing. How did that happen? And the Federal Reserve and didn't know about it.
Why won't the Congress do it? Blackmailed, threatened?
Look, the Congress is part of the deal. Congress is being offered the lifetime royalty, as you say. They've got their positions. The Democratic and Republican Party are basically in agreement.
And now they're offering the cops lifetime royalty. Take the people's guns. You can keep yours after you retire. Precisely. Cops, if you believe that, you're idiots.
And just as believing the fact that if we let them go on this one, why don't we have a Watergate-style investigation of the entire Obama administration?
I agree. They admit, we've done 1,000 times what Nixon did, 10,000 times. They admit it's the cops holding up, going after the guns, because the cops know they're going to have their guns taken, and the cops know it's going to be a civil war.
Well, the cops better protect us because the cops are next. That's the point. The Communist Chinese would be happy to come in here with their military and tell the local law enforcement, we don't need you anymore.
Well, they'll tell them, turn your guns in, and then they're going to kill them.
But look, you've got the NSA. The NSA can read your emails, read my emails. You mean they couldn't read the emails of HSBC laundering money? They couldn't read the emails of the drug cartels coming across the border? They couldn't read the emails from Ambassador Stevens saying, we're not protected here, running guns, with Al-Qaeda taking over?
You talk to a lot of corporate and government people. Are they concerned right now?
Increasingly. Because, again, the corporations, you know, the whole idea is, well, corporations will be fine in globalism. They'll use all the labor from China. You know, they don't need American labor. See, this people, American labor is useless. It's a detail. You know, don't need expensive American or European.
Don't all these rich people know they're going to get double-crossed?
I mean, that's the whole point. People have got, you're not going to be safe by being ignorant.
They're idiots.
You're not going to be
The governing class is going to slit their throats.
And it's, you know, this is the big move towards globalism. It's the one chance where they think if they can just bankrupt the United States, eliminate the military, step by step China will move in. We become a colony to communist China. We become the globalists.
That's why Dinesh D'Souza's film gets it wrong. It's not that Obama hates nation states and is an anti-colonialist. Well, no, he does hate nation states. It's that this is a reverse colonialism of the globalist and collectivist governing class to get rid of the nations and create a giant world government.
Listen, when the Georgetown professor says the Constitution's an old document, ignore it, because they think nation states. They think God is old.
How was D'Souza's film wrong?
Well, D'Souza's film was wrong in that we want to colonialize America. Obama...
That's right. America's being colonialized by the globalists.
Obama doesn't mind colonialism as long as he's the one doing the colonizing.
Exactly. It's a total lie. Globalism is corporate colonization using communist methods.
And let the banks do it because the banks will control the money. You know, if England thinks it's going to vote out of the EU, they're not going to get a chance to do that. It's not going to happen. The EU, again, bankrupting the EU, bankrupting...
And their own documents admit it was designed to bankrupt.
It puts more power in the hands of the global bankers who want to say, we'll be just fine. We'll let communist...
And the EU bureaucrats are all exempt from the taxes.
Look at the money.
Same deal.
Yes. The only money in the United States today is held by the Chinese, are the richest country in the world. The drug cartels have more money than the corporations or the federal government. The federal government has been intentionally bankrupt.
A criminal takeover.
Criminal takeover. It's a criminal takeover by the globalists of the federal government.
And they're just criminals.
We have a coup d'etat.
That's why they use criminal tactics.
Obama is heading a coup d'etat from within.
A criminal cartel, foreign criminal cartel coup d'etat.
We are, the United States government is the drug cartel. We are the drug cartels. We are Al-Qaeda. We're funding Al-Qaeda. We're putting guns...
Again, the criminal groups that have come in and hijacked our...
Right. And killing Gaddafi. I mean, why did Obama turn on Gaddafi?
He'd come in and worked with them.
Gaddafi funded Obama through Louis Farrakhan. Reverend Wright met with Gaddafi.
He funded Sarkozy. That's even come out in the news.
And then Obama turns
They double-crossed their own guy.
Threw Gaddafi to the wolves because he had Al-Qaeda coming to the fore. Al-Qaeda's taken over all the criminal...
Which, again, is Saudi Arabia.
The whole idea...
That's the deal.
The whole idea of this Arab Spring...
Turn everything over to the Saudis.
Only more of the Muslim Brotherhood, the radicals, taking over all of North Africa.
So it's Saudi Arabia, the communist Chinese, and the mega banks all teamed up against any country they don't control.
Any country they don't control. And bankrupting the United States people, making the United States people feel like if they don't get their Social Security checks... Look at the number of people that are on the verge of bankruptcy in the United States. Number of people facing losing their homes. The plan is to take the homes away from Americans.
And nationalize that.
Plan is to reduce Americans to poverty. And it's this whole Cloward-Piven theory is a conscious attempt to bankrupt the United States in order for the globalists to gain power.
It's domestication for slaughter. Yeah. Dr. Corsi, you've got to go catch an airplane. We're going to have you back on very, very soon when the new book comes out. In fact, I want to tell Weldon Henson back there over our department. I want to carry
Bad Samaritan. You'll have it.
I want to carry all your new books.
Have it.
All right, Dr. Corsi, thank you for being with us.
Alex, you're doing God's work. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. ProPure is introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. This is a revolutionary system, and I am so pleased to be able to introduce it to you. This is the Pro One by ProPure. You wanted it, you got it. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. In the last 20 years, companies have developed technologies that will cut out classical fluoride, sodium fluoride, with a secondary filter. Because sodium fluoride and its derivatives are so incredibly tiny, some of it still gets through, so you've got to add a secondary fluoride filter onto it, which still doesn't cut out some types of fluoride. Ladies and gentlemen, ProPure for 2 years has been quietly developing this with scientists and engineers. It was designed in the U.S. They only have factories that can make this in England. So it's made in England, and this is the only filter that not only cuts out the other bad contaminants and also the fluoride in one step, it cuts out the acid derivative of fluoride. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the system you need to add to all of the ProPure systems that you've gotten from InfoWarsStore.com. The new Pro One filter element does it all. Water, fluoride, and other heavy metals. This is 2-stage filtration in one filter element. To be clear, Pro One water filters, designed and created by ProPure, are the only gravity-fed filters out there, period, that don't just cut out so-called sodium fluoride, but cut out what is added to most water supply systems, and that is hydrofluorosilicic acid, which is a hopped-up, energized form of fluoride that is literally dozens of times more deadly to your body. That's what's being added to almost every municipal water supply, not just here in the United States, but in Canada, England, the UK in general, and much of Europe. New Pro One filter elements are good for more than 2,400 gallons, blowing away the competition. The ProPure Pro One is a revolution in gravity-fed filters. Take advantage of this today. It's a win-win. Support the InfoWar by purchasing it from InfoWarsStore.com. Support the broadcast and get the lowest price out of the gates anywhere. So no matter where you live in the world, it is time to get the latest development in gravity-fed water filtration, up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. No other filter can cut any of that out. Only ProPure and their new system, Pro One. All available at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. This is a revolution against the tyrants. They love putting the toxic acid base of fluoride into your water. They love the fact that it's an adjuvant supercharging the trace Prozac in the water and the hormones and the other chemicals. They love the fact that it supercharges the GMOs that you're eating. By cutting out fluoride, you cut out the turbocharger in all the poison being artificially introduced into your body. This is what I use. It's a win-win. You get a high-quality product at the lowest price. You support the InfoWar. Get your ProPure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139.